I still remember the exact moment my life split into two versions. The moment my own brother fired me. "I want you gone by lunch," Aaron said, leaning against my office door like he owned the world. His voice was calm, confident, almost bored. "The board agrees. You're not leadership material." I kept packing my things into a cardboard box, slowly, quietly. Inside were years of memories, years of effort, years of being ignored. I wrapped the Murano glass paperweight I bought in Venice, something he would never understand. To him, everything valuable was loud and flashy. I was quiet. That made me invisible. He watched me like he expected tears. Begging. Panic. But I didn't give him that. Instead, I checked my watch, a vintage Cartier inherited from our grandfather. Hidden under my sleeve, like everything else I was hiding. "Actually," I said calmly, "I do have something to say." He raised an eyebrow. "Finally. Let's hear it. Shouldn't you be getting ready for the 3 o'clock board meeting?" His smirk froze. "What board meeting?" "The emergency one," I replied softly. "Called this morning." He pulled out his phone, and the moment he saw the notification, his face changed. Confidence cracked. "I didn't call any meeting." "No," I said, placing a leather notebook into my box. "You didn't." While he spent 6 years acting like the face of Alder and Knox, I was building something else. Something he never noticed. Something much bigger. My phone buzzed. A message from my CFO. "LSA secured. 83% ready when you are." Aaron noticed my smile. "What are you smiling at?" "You're the one getting fired." I picked up the last item, a framed photo of our grandfather shaking hands with Eleanor Roosevelt during the company's founding. "Just thinking how fast things can change," I said. "Nothing is changing," he snapped. "The board backs me." "You're too soft. Your digital ideas, sustainability nonsense, all naive." "Tradition," I repeated. "You mean outdated systems, toxic policies, and nepotism?" He stiffened. "The board agrees with me." "Maybe they did," I said, glancing at my phone. "But they'll be very interested in the ownership report today." He laughed. "You own nothing." "I have 20%. The rest belongs to the board." I smiled. "You own 20%. Want to know who owns the other 80? His face drained of color. He rushed to his computer, hands shaking, pulling up the shareholder registry. I watched him scroll. "Stop. Scroll again." His lips moved silently. "This can't be real," he whispered. "Pinegate Holdings owns almost everything," I said calmly. He looked at me like he was seeing a stranger. I stepped toward the door with my box. "You'll find out at 3, I whispered. "Try not to be late, brother." It would be awkward for the outgoing CEO to miss his own demotion. Before I left, I leaned closer. "Did you ever wonder why I never fought back? Why I stayed quiet while you called me emotional, weak, unfit for business?" He didn't answer. "You were busy talking," I said. "I was busy building." And that's when the company started to shift. If you're still watching this story, trust me, what happens in that boardroom will change everything. Before we continue, make sure you like this video and subscribe to Revenge Cast, because the next part is where the real power move happens. At exactly 3 p.m., I walked into the boardroom and sat at the far end of the table. The seat he always made me take, so I could learn how real leaders behave. My phone buzzed. "Legal transition approved. Security ready. Leadership structure finalized. Curtains up." Aaron rushed in 5 minutes early, his suit wrinkled, his confidence cracked. He looked nothing like the man who fired me hours earlier. "There's been a mistake," he said to the board. "The shareholder registry is wrong." Howard Lynn, the senior board member, calmly adjusted his cuffs. "No mistake, Aaron. Pinegate Holdings verified everything." Aaron snapped, "Who are these people?" how did they buy everything without us knowing? I raised my eyebrow. Maybe if you upgraded the tracking software like I suggested, you wouldn't be asking that. At 3 o'clock sharp, my assistant entered. Mrs. Knox, Pinegate Holdings Managing Director is ready to proceed. Aaron froze. What did you call her? I stood slowly. Check the screen. The wall lit up. My face. My name. Delilah Knox. Founder and Managing Director. Pinegate Holdings. The room exploded in whispers. Aaron grabbed the table. That's impossible. You're just my sister. Your sister, I said, walking past him, who built a $50 billion investment firm while you inherited a title. I tapped my phone. Slides filled the screen. Shell companies. Acquisitions. Legal filings. While you focused on speeches and golf lunches, I said softly, I focused on strategy. And the board realized they had been bought. Quietly. Completely. Aaron whispered, how did you get the money? Remember that small consulting agency I started? The one you called a hobby? He stared. It grew. I reinvested. Expanded. Built partnerships. While you played king, I built a kingdom. I sat in his chair. Now, I said calmly, let's talk about your future. The room felt smaller once I sat in his chair. Aaron stood there, silent, like the air had been pulled out of him. The board members avoided his eyes. Some looked at me with shock. Others with something like respect. You can't do this, Aaron said, forcing his voice to stay steady. We're not for sale. We were, I replied softly. Every time someone retired, every time someone wanted out, Pinegate was there. Howard Lynn nodded slowly. Every dip in stock, every private sale. Different funds, different names. We never noticed. That was the plan, I said. Aaron shook his head, still trying to laugh it off. This is revenge. You're mad because I fired you. I stood up, letting everyone feel the moment. This isn't revenge, I said calmly. This is correction. The boardroom went quiet. I slid a folder across the table toward him. You have two options. He opened it with shaking hands. Option 1, I continued, sell your 20% stake at full market value. Walk away rich. Quiet. Dignified. And option 2, he asked. Stay, I said, but in a role that matches your real experience. His eyes narrowed. Which is? Junior operations manager. A pin could have dropped. Someone coughed. Someone shifted in their seat. No one spoke. You're humiliating me, Aaron snapped. You humiliated me for 6 years, I replied calmly. In meetings. In front of the board. In front of the company. I'm not humiliating you. I'm teaching you. He stood up. This is personal. No, I said. This is business. I leaned forward, resting my hands on the table. Leadership isn't inherited. It's earned. You inherited. I earned. He looked around for support. There was none. Finally, he sat down again, defeated. The meeting ended with signatures, votes, and silence. And in less than an hour, Alder and Knox had a new CEO. Me. The next morning, I walked into my real office for the first time. The entire top floor. Glass walls. City views. Sunlight reflecting off buildings I owned, financed, or controlled. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Board members praising me. Former executives asking for meetings. Industry leaders calling me brilliant. And one message from Aaron. We need to talk. My assistant Clara walked in with reports. Your brother is in the lobby, she said quietly. He's been waiting since 6. I pulled up the security feed. He looked different. Smaller. Tired. No entourage. No confidence. Send him up, I said. And bring the employee handbook. He entered slowly, looking around at the skyline like he was stepping into another world. Nice office, he said. Bigger than yours was, I replied. Being the actual CEO has perks. He sat across from me, hands folded, eyes tired. How long were you planning this? I smiled slightly. You planned it. Every time you ignored me. Every time you called me emotional. Every time you shut down my ideas. He swallowed. But Pinegate, it's massive. How did you build all this? I tapped my desk. The wall lit up with my portfolio. Companies. Funds. Real estate. Partnerships. I started small, I said. One client. One investment. Then another. I reinvested everything. He stared at the numbers. 50 billion, he whispered. Nobody ever thought to look deeper, I said. They saw what they wanted. A quiet sister. Too soft for business. His phone buzzed. News alerts. Alder and Knox rebranding. He looked out the window at the building he used to rule. So what happens to me now? He asked quietly. I opened the employee handbook and placed it between us. Junior operations manager. Same salary you paid me 5 years ago. He laughed bitterly. And if I refuse? Then take the buyout, I said. I switched the screen to internal audits, risk forecasts, hidden financial data. Look closely, I said. Your outdated systems. Talent you pushed away. Projects you killed. Without Pinegate, Alder and Knox would collapse in 18 months. His face went pale. I didn't know. No, I said. You didn't want to know. Silence filled the room. Media is requesting a statement, Clara said over the intercom. Transition team ready. Aaron looked at me. You're really doing this? Yes, I said softly. But I'm giving you something you never gave me. What? A chance. He looked down at the handbook, then back at me. Starting at the bottom? Starting where you should have started, I said. On the floor. With people. With real work. He stared at the city again. Did you hate me? He asked. I paused. No. I pitied you. He looked at me, shocked. You thought being born first made you a leader. I knew better. And for the first time, he understood. Aaron sat there for a long time without speaking. His eyes stayed on the handbook, but I knew he was really looking at himself. Finally, he nodded. I'll stay, he said quietly. Junior operations manager. I didn't celebrate. I didn't smile. This wasn't about winning. This was about rebuilding. The next year changed everything. Alder and Knox had been frozen in time for decades. Old systems, old thinking, old leadership. Under Pinegate, everything shifted. We rebuilt the supply chain. We modernized technology. We hired people Aaron once called too ambitious. Innovation replaced fear. Transparency replaced ego. And Aaron, he changed. At first, employees didn't trust him. They remembered how he treated people. How he ignored ideas. How he ruled from the top without understanding the ground. So I made him start on the ground. He worked on the operations floor. He listened to engineers. He met junior staff and interns. He handled logistics, vendor problems, real deadlines. He learned what leadership actually felt like. Some days, he came home exhausted. Some days, he looked defeated. But he never quit. Slowly, people noticed. He's different now, they said. He actually listens. He's trying. And they were right. 1 year later, I called him into my office. The skyline had changed again. Pinegate's logo glowed where Alder and Knox once stood alone. The city felt alive, modern, rebuilt. "Your performance review is in," I said, opening his file. He stood quietly, hands behind his back, no arrogance, no entitlement. "Exceptional," I said. "You learned fast." "I had to," he replied. "You took everything I thought leadership was and destroyed it." I looked up at him. "That's what real growth feels like." He nodded slowly. "I get it now," he said. "Business. People. Responsibility. It's not about the title." "Exactly," I said. I slid a folder toward him. "I'm offering you a promotion." He blinked. "What?" "Senior Director of Operations. Real authority. Real responsibility. Real accountability." His eyes softened. "Thank you," he said quietly. "For not giving up on me." We stood by the window together, watching the city. "The Knox name still matters," I said. "But not because we inherited it. Because we rebuilt it." He nodded. "You built it." I finally learned how to help. Time passed. 5 years later, the company celebrated its 50th anniversary. Aaron and I stood on stage under bright lights, cameras flashing, employees cheering. "Innovation through understanding," I said into the microphone. "Leadership through learning." Aaron adjusted his badge. "Executive Vice President of Operations." He leaned toward me and whispered, "Remember when I fired you?" I smiled. "Remember when I bought the company?" He laughed softly. "Best hostile takeover ever." People called it the Knox Revelation. A story of power, failure, and redemption. Behind us, Pinegate and Alder and Knox logos glowed together. No rivals. Just partners. "We didn't just preserve a legacy," I said. "We built something better." Aaron nodded. "You built it," he said. "I learned how to deserve it." As the sun set behind the skyline, I realized something important. Sometimes the strongest revenge isn't taking control. It's teaching someone how to earn. People think power changes you. But the truth is, power just shows who you really are. When Pinegate took control, many people expected me to become cold, arrogant, ruthless. They expected me to treat Aaron the way he treated me. I didn't. Not because I was weak. But because I was done being small. Late nights, I would stay in my office, looking out over the city. Lights glowing in buildings where people worked, dreamed, struggled. Some of them had been dismissed, ignored, underestimated, just like me. I started Revenge Cast for people like that. People who were told they weren't enough, until they proved everyone wrong. Aaron and I didn't talk much in the beginning. He focused on learning. I focused on rebuilding. But sometimes, he would stop by my office after long days. "You really planned all of this alone?" he asked once. "Not alone," I said. "But quietly." He nodded slowly. "I never saw it." That was the point. The company culture changed fast. Meetings became open. Ideas came from interns, engineers, designers. People felt safe to speak. One day, a junior analyst told Aaron, "You're not the same person anymore." He looked surprised. "Is that good or bad?" "It's good," she said. "You listen now." That moment stayed with him. He started mentoring new hires. He apologized to people he once ignored. He asked questions instead of giving orders. And something unexpected happened. People forgave him. Not all at once. Not easily. But slowly. One evening, he stood beside me on the rooftop terrace, city lights below. "Do you think I deserved this second chance?" I looked at him for a long moment. "No," I said honestly. "But you're earning it." He smiled, a real smile. Not the old smug one. "You taught me something," he said. "Power without understanding is just noise." I nodded. And silence without strategy is just invisibility. He laughed softly. You were never invisible. We just refused to look. Sometimes I wondered how different things could have been if he had listened earlier. But then I realized, none of this would exist without the struggle. Pinegate expanded into clean energy, ethical manufacturing, and tech innovation. Alder and Knox became a case study in business schools. A legacy company reborn. Journalists called it a miracle turnaround. They didn't see the quiet nights, the ignored emails, the years of preparation. They didn't see a girl being called too emotional in meetings. They didn't see her buying the company piece by piece. And if you're still listening to this story, I want you to remember something. The people who underestimate you are giving you time. Time to build. Time to learn. Time to plan. One day, they will look up and realize you're already in control. 5 years later, I stood on the stage beside Aaron at Alder and Knox's 50th anniversary. Cameras flashed. Employees cheered. Investors listened carefully. The same company that once told me I wasn't leadership material was now studying my leadership style. The room felt different. Respectful. Alive. Honest. Aaron leaned toward me and whispered, "Remember when I fired you?" I smiled softly. "Remember when I bought the company?" He laughed under his breath. Best hostile takeover in corporate history. People still call it the Knox Revelation. A story about a quiet sister who became the majority owner. A story about a powerful brother who learned humility. A story about a legacy company that nearly collapsed and then rose stronger than ever. When I looked at the crowd, I saw people who reminded me of myself. Quiet thinkers. Dreamers. Builders. People who don't talk the loudest, but work the hardest. And I realized something. Sometimes the strongest people are the ones nobody notices. Sometimes the smartest move is staying silent while you build something unstoppable. And sometimes, the best revenge isn't destroying someone. It's teaching them how to deserve the power they once abused. Aaron stepped up to the microphone. You didn't just take control of this company, he said. You taught me what leadership really means. I nodded. We didn't just protect a legacy. We rebuilt it. He looked at me and added, she built it. I finally learned how to help. As the applause filled the room, I felt calm. Not angry. Not bitter. Just proud. Because the girl who was fired at lunch became the CEO by dinner. And the brother who underestimated her became her student. If this story meant something to you, if you've ever been ignored, doubted, or told you're not enough, write your story in the comments. I read them all. Your journey matters. Share this story with someone who needs motivation today. And don't forget to like and subscribe to Revenge Cast, because the next story might be the one that changes how you see your own power. Remember this. Build quietly. Lead boldly. And when the moment comes, don't just prove them wrong. Show them how it's done.